First of all, my name is Gary, Gary Chao. I'm from the City of Cupertino Planning Department. I'm actually a little disappointed that I see a lot of people leaving this session because I personally like to feel that this session is probably the most valuable session that you can get out of this symposium, but that's my personal opinion. I am here today primarily to introduce to you all about how to work with the Community Development Department in the Cupertino City. Some of you have had sessions earlier today about how to organize your business model or finances or loans. So basically, by that time you get your finances in check, you're ready to talk to the city because you have to secure permits and business license. And if you're seeking for a site to locate in, a space, there's some considerations that you would have to think about before you sign your lease. So we'll go through a few items today. I'll keep it short since we have such a small group. Just some key facts on locations and contacts for Community Development Department, phone numbers and emails, and we could go back to this slide later if you want to look at it again. But generally, the Community Development Department consists of 4 components: planning, building, housing, and code enforcement. And really, my focus today is really to go over the planning and building components. Essentially, planning department's function is to plan for the future land use and development regulations for the city, as well as review current developments proposals. And really what that translates into are zoning regulations, development standards, land use parameters, sign regulations, business license criteria. One of the primary service that we offer I personally feel it's invaluable is we provide preliminary consultations to citizens and prospective business owners on some of the things that you need to be aware of before you invest your money into committing to a site or a lease. And then the other component is building department. Building department really is there to ensure that the construction, the build out of your site, your business, are going to be conforming to the city's codes, construction codes, the state of California's building codes as it relates to electrical codes, plumbing codes, mechanical codes. It also offers services on plan check review, consultation before you commit your resources to hiring a contractor or an architect, just so that you know some of the questions that you need to ask, as well as some of the resources you need to plan for, depending on your needs. Question?
Can I go on and look at the building permits that are...
Okay. So the question is, can you go online and secure your building permit? The answer is yes. Currently, right now, the functionality of the online permit system is limited. So for example, if you have a very minor request like changing out a water heater or changing out an AC equipment or whatnot, those type of permit applications are available to apply for online. We are actually currently working to launch a comprehensive online permit system that's going to come online probably around October this year. Then you're going to get a full palette of kind of like a web portal that you can actually apply for more types of building permits.
I was more interested in actually looking up permits that have been filed or checked off and
Sure.
seeing,
Right.
I'm an appraiser and I look at, sometimes go through a building permit list in the city and pick a building and see what's been upgraded.
Right, yeah. Right now you can't really do that. We're working on a system that's going to be able to provide you the ability to actually check online and look at permit status and ones that have been checked off, ones under review, under construction. We do have a link in the planning department's web link that's called current development activity report. That will get you some sense of things that are coming online soon as well. Under review, approved but not constructed, or under construction. That may help your costs a little bit. So as I was alluding to, building department also provides very valuable preliminary consultation, review, and services for folks that have not committed fully to your business location or build out. And it's invaluable for you to be able to come in to over the counter or appointment basis to come down to the city hall to talk to a professional about what some of the things you need to be aware of and plan for. And so I put together a really short list of what I think critical things that I would think about and consider before I engage in a lease or invest on a space or business in Cupertino. Some of these things are pretty simple, but in relations to the codes and development regulations in Cupertino, some of them, you actually need to think about it beforehand. For example, property location, right? Everybody knows location is everything for a business to be successful. However, in terms of planning terms, it's important to seek a location, a space that would allow you to have the type of business or use that you want to have. You can't really have a daycare in a middle of a shopping center that's already have like a couple of daycares already. Or, for example, you want to open a restaurant, but for whatever reason, there's a condition of approval on that property that disallows restaurants. So there are some of the things that you need to be aware of, just even aside from some of just whether if it's a good location or not. And the planning department can help you with that. The other thing is the physical condition and attributes of the sites that you're looking at or the particular tenant space that you're looking at. And the reason I say that is sometimes location-wise, it may be a great location. It's perfect. You get street presence and there's a lot of traffic or foot traffic. You want to be next to a certain type of business for your model to be successful. However, you also have to probe a little bit beyond that. Does the physical space give you sufficient kind of building code requirements or satisfy building code requirements for you to operate your business? Does it have the appropriate access? Because there's a lot of requirements that would be triggered once you modify the space. The extent of improvements and alterations. And sometimes people have the need to completely modify a space for their business. That would be very involving, even adding on square footage. The city has processes for that. You need to talk to planning department about permit process, as well as building department and fire department about some of the upgrades that would be necessary, that would be triggered. And then, of course, depending on the conditions and the improvement requirements, we could help you with approval process and costs, as well as development regulations. I actually brought with me some key ordinances that people typically would be interested in if they're looking to open a business. For example, signage requirements, parking requirements, as well as our general commercial zoning district, the land use requirements. Not everything are allowed, believe it or not, in the commercial zoning district. Some require use permit, conditional use permit that requires additional process. Some are straight up approved process, but it requires the planning department, building department to be involved to be able to clear the space for you to be able to operate. Some people don't think about parking. Parking is actually a big topic to consider, in my opinion, before you commit to a space. A lot of times people come in and they get everything ready and the lease is signed and they're ready to move in, they're ready to sign the business license application, only to find out that the requirement for parking is a couple more stalls than they have available to provide. And those are the things that the planning department can help you plan for in advance. Another one big one is signage. Every business, in order to be successful, requires proper signage, right? Visibility is everything. but the city has a set of ordinances that governs what you can and cannot have, how big the signs can be, where can it be placed. Sometimes people may feel that there's a spot that's perfect for a sign, but then the ordinance may not allow you to put a sign there. So we highly encourage, for those of you interested in opening up a business, to talk to the planning department in advance before you sign your lease, before you finalize your space. Talk to us about what sort of sign requirements are in need of consideration. Some shopping centers have sign programs that you need to be aware of. The landlord, the property owner, prescribes certain design attributes and regulations that people need to be aware of. And we have copies of those sign programs in City Hall at the planning department. The last two items really has to do with building department. Salvador is our building official, and I've asked him to come today to answer any questions relating to building department. But really, building occupancy type, in my opinion, is very important, and people don't really think about it sometimes. It may be a commercial space that you're looking at, or office space you're looking at. But what's important is what was used there before, what business occupied that space before. Because there may be different bathroom requirements, or maybe different fire safety requirements, or maybe different accessibility requirements or triggers depending on the occupancy type. So just because that the space is good, the location is good, size-wise is good, you have to also consider and ask our building staff in terms of what are some of the building occupancy considerations. And then the last but not least is accessibility requirements. And Albert can talk more about that. Really, every time you trigger improvements on a tenant space, whether it's commercial, office, or there might be triggers for improvements on handicap accessibility or rampings leading up to your space. A lot of these things are required by the state of California, and we are in charge of implementing that. So the reason I'm bringing up some of these things is that these are dollar figures to a lot of folks, right? You need to, aside from getting your loan secured and getting your business model secured, really the final build out will contingent upon a lot of demonstrating, complying with a lot of these components, and that it may add additional cost to your pro forma. So we want to be able to get you in, talking to us before you fully plan out your business model. And really, that's all I really have prepared for. I was hoping for a very interactive session, but being that there's really not a lot of you, so I'm just going to end with some useful city web links. If you log on to www.cupertino.org/planning or /building, that'll get you to our building and planning main webpage, and there's a wealth of resources there. And really, with that, I would just entertain any questions that you may have. Thank you. Yeah. You have anything to add?
Well, actually, yeah. So, I heard this one question. I just certainly want to add, Albert Salvador, as Gary said, building official. The one question was around document management, I believe, around how do I get permits, copies of permits that were finalized, I heard, or maybe even that were issued. So we certainly are migrating and implementing a new permit tracking system, but we currently use a document management system called Laserfish. So all our permits that we issue over the counter is actually on a daily basis scanned in and uploaded into Laserfish for, and it's searchable by address, by permit number, by APN number. The goal, and we're actually going through an archiving process to get all our old finalized plans and applications scanned in to put into our Laserfish system. We're also converting our microfilm that were permits that were issued and microfilmed in the old days, although it's more of an obsolete system now. We're actually converting our microfilm to digital imaging, and we're all importing that into our Laserfish system. So to answer your question about how do I get final permits or access to final permits, we currently have our system online at that address, And our tasks right now are to get all our archive stuff and our older stuff and our microfilm information into that same system.
So today I could go in on the slash building and find this, and I can access it and find permits that have been issued and finalized?
Yes.
Okay.
You would actually go to Cupertino.org, and on the main screen there will be a link called Records on the top right. You would click Records, and it will get it'll get you to our Laserfish system. And again, you can search by There's different departments you can search records for. You'd have to click the building department. I'd be happy to show you how you do that.
I could search by APN and find what I'm looking for.
You can.
Okay.
You can search by APN. You can search by address.
Great.
Certainly, you can search by permit number, which you probably won't know. But APN you can use, and you certainly can use address as well. So, any other building department questions? I do want to expand on some things that Gary was mentioning, and certainly we get all the time people coming in to the city asking how to open up their business. And a lot of that does have to do with planning, but some of it has to do with the building department requirements. We have building codes that we have to comply with, accessibility, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, building, sometimes structural. They come to the counter, and a typical question would be, well, I want to open up a school in this particular location. How do I do that? And certainly we do want to make sure it's zoned properly, and that's why Gary has a lot of information that he gave out, but we also want to make sure that the building is approved for that particular use. I mean, there's different uses that require different exiting requirements, that require different accessibility requirements, that if the building was already approved for that use that you want, let's say for that school, if it was already a school, then we would approve it and let them move on and issue a business license for it. But if this space was, let's say, an office space before, and now they want to have a school where they would tutor up to 30 students, 12th grade or less. Well, that's a different classification. That's more hazardous occupancy. It's an intensity of that use. So we at the building department will want to make sure that the exiting is adequate, that there's adequate panic hardware, that sometimes we have to add fire sprinklers in the building in that case. We might have to make sure the fire alarm systems are adequate. So from a life safety point of view, a change in use might trigger some things, as Gary pointed out, that might cost more money. And some of these small business owners don't realize the cost involved in upgrading a space in order to allow a use that they want to use that space for. So it's really important to come to the counter first before you sign any leases, before you commit to an architect or an engineer, to just talk to us, to come to the counter, ask these questions about planning requirements, ask these questions about building requirements. Gary mentioned accessibility requirements. There's a lot of old buildings out there that don't have adequate ramps to get up to the general space. Well, we might have to add ramps in there, which could be a significant cost that they weren't expecting to spend to begin with. So those are the questions that you need to ask to understand the cost to upgrade the infrastructure of the building before you can open up that business. So that said, is there any more questions regarding building department requirements?
Okay, well, if not, we'll just end the session. Like I said, I brought some business cards, both Albert and Mike business cards on the table, and also some key information that you can take with you, including the slides from today's presentation, and also a zoning map. Thank you.